Welcome to yet another episode of the Linda Ogweno Political Show. In this show, we purpose to bring good governance to Kenya and Africa by training leaders about politics and political processes, hoping that they will take these training lessons and run for elections and win seats. So today we'd like to talk about one of the documents in Kenya that is very important for you as a candidate if you'll be vying for an electoral seat. And that is the Constitution of Kenya. I'm going to put in the description a link where you'll be able to get your free soft copy, but if you'd like a hard copy like this one of mine, you can get it from Uraia Trust or one of its partners. It is absolutely free, so go to their website, contact them so that you're able to get your own hard copy. I would advise that you start looking at this constitution very early, because if you wait till the very last minute during election period, during the campaign period, you will have so much that you're juggling with as a candidate, and it will be challenging for you to be able to consume the content of this constitution. Yet you're expected as a candidate to have its content in your head. At the same time, this is not a document that you will look at and just be able to consume all of it in one particular sitting. So time in, time again, whether you're vying as a candidate, whether you're serving your term, now having vied as a successful candidate, you will have to keep referring to it. So the earlier you do it, the better, and make it a habit. And that also goes to say that even in this episode, we will not be able to go through the entire constitution, but I'll highlight one or two areas that, in my opinion, I feel that as a candidate you should be able to know. But as I've advised, kindly get your own soft copy. Allow me also to mention at this particular juncture that I'm grateful for Women United for Our Future as a partner of this production, and yes, to many more. So if we go into it, the Constitution of Kenya is divided into chapters, 18 chapters. And the first chapter more or less just talks about the sovereignty of the people. That means power belongs to the people. So if you'll be vying and you're successful and you're elected, please always remember at the back of your mind that your electorate have taken their power and they have handed it over to you. The second chapter talks about more or less Kenya as a republic, and what caught my eye in this chapter is that Kenya is a multi-party state. So that means there are so many political parties in Kenya. Look for one if you'll be vying through a political party and use it as a vehicle to represent yourself. If you go to the third chapter, it more or less talks about citizenship, of how to acquire citizenship. Remember that for you to be eligible to vie as a candidate, the first requirement is that you have to be a citizen. So first, figure out, are you a citizen? And have you acquired it? Is it through birth or through registration? There's a point I have forgotten about chapter 2, and those are the national symbols of the Republic of Kenya. One of the ones that I'd like to mention is the national anthem, and all these are at the back of the constitution. Please just look at them. They are stated as schedules. The second schedule, the first schedule talks about the 47 counties. You know that Kenya has two governments, at the national government and at the county government. So there are 47 counties, and they are listed all at the first schedule of the constitution. And then the second schedule talks about the national symbols, and there's the flag of Kenya and the national anthem. The one I want to talk about is the national anthem. Most of us know the national anthem because it was taught to us in school. We sang it, and so it is embedded in our system. Please also take time to master the East African anthem. Experience has taught me you'll find yourself in functions where after playing of the national anthem, the East African anthem gets played, and most of us, it was not taught to us in school, so we don't know it. So please master it. There's also a way you put your hand when you're singing it. Master it so that you don't get yourself eating your words. Okay, so when you get to the third schedule that are just about the oath of office. Should you be a successful candidate, which is what we hope that you'll attend through this channel, is that these are the oath of offices that you'll be taking, and it's standard for everybody. So one of the things that I'd recommend as a candidate who would like to vie in the next election is start reciting these oaths, by yourself, maybe in your mirror, like, I, Linda Atieno Ogweno, in full realization of the high calling I assume as, for example, this one is president, if I'm vying for the seat of president or deputy president, do solemnly swear, like that. So help me God. And the more you do it, they say, the good book says that faith is calling that which is not, so that it comes to be that which is. So continue saying that until someday your dream will actually be your reality. So back to the Constitution, chapter 4 talks about the Bill of Rights. There are so many bills of rights, and as I had mentioned, I'll not be able to go through all of them, but just highlight one or two that I think is of interest to you as a candidate. And that is not to say that the rest are not of interest. Just take your time and know all of them. So I'll go to Article 37, which is the right to assembly and demonstration. It says every person has the right to peaceably, unarmed, to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to represent petition to public authorities. And this is one of the articles of the Constitution that has been abused, especially by law enforcement officers. And yet it is also a platform for you as a candidate to raise the objections or just raise issues that you have, and to be able to call duty bearers who are currently serving, hold them accountable to that which they are supposed to be doing. Okay, then 38, political rights. It says every citizen is free to make political choices, okay, which includes to form, participate in forming a political party, to participate in the activities or recruit members in a political party, to campaign for a political party or cause. So just mean all of us have equal rights. Number 2 says every citizen has the right to free, fair, regular election based on universal suffrage. And this just speaks about if you're a member of a political party, you have every right to vote within that political party. You also have every right to seek for whichever seat within that political party that you want. So let nobody try to intimidate you within a political party and tell you this is a seat that is reserved for X, Y, and Z. Not unless that is stipulated in the Constitution, which most of them do not have, and that will be illegal. You are at liberty to vie for whichever position of a political party. And number 3 just goes ahead to tell us that everybody has a right to be registered as a voter in this country and to vote by secret ballot. Nobody needs to know how you have voted. We have had stories in Kenya where somebody goes and starts assaulting maybe opponents, people who supported opponents. You are free to vote by secret ballot, and even in the referendum. So more rights there, right to assemble, more rights to you. So just go through them. The other one that caught my eye would be 55, and that speaks about people with disability. 54, sorry, allow me to read. Number 2 says the state shall ensure the progressive implementation of the principle that at least 5% of the members of the public in elective and appointive bodies are persons living with disability. And so this one, I'm sure we have not attained it as a country, and so I would want to encourage people who are living with disability to come out in their numbers in the next election and to seek for political seats. Also, if it'll be your turn and you have won elections and it's your turn, see into it, because it also talks about appointive bodies that you have given at least 5%. It could even get higher, to 10, 20. At least give it to people living with disabilities. Article 55 speaks about the youth, and I'll read part B. The youth have opportunities. This constitution, it is the right that the youth have opportunities to associate, to be represented, to participate in political, social, economic, and other spheres. So this is also a welcome to young people to please be very active within political spaces and to see into it that their voice is heard. There is a commission in Kenya known as Kenya National Human Rights and Equality Commission. They are mandated with seeing into it that the rights in this country are implemented well. I will leave it up to you to judge whether they're doing the right thing or not. I'd like to go to chapter 6. Yes, the famous chapter 6. If you'll be seeking for an elective position in Kenya, please, you have to know chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya, and it talks about leadership and integrity. So this chapter just gives us the ethos of if you're already a state officer, you're already serving, how are you supposed to be leading, and how are you supposed to be carrying out yourself in that office? And if you'll be seeking office, how are you supposed and how are you expected to be carrying yourself out? Peradventure, you are found to be guilty of abusing Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya, and you have even been removed through impeachment. Remember that you will not be eligible to vie for another public office in Kenya. We have even seen people who've gone to court to try and repeal this and appeal against this ruling, but they were not successful. And so as it stands now, if you abuse Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya, you will not be eligible to vie for another office in Kenya. I want to speak about Article 77, which is restriction of the activities of state officer. Number 2 says any appointed state officer shall not hold office in a political party. This I'd like to seek direction from ORPP. ORPP is the body that is mandated with governing political parties in Kenya, and even Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, because while the Constitution clearly says that any state appointed officer shall not hold any office in a political party, that is not the practice on the ground, and this is one of the articles being currently abused in Kenya. 78 says a person is not eligible for election or appointed to a state office unless the person is a citizen of Kenya, and we had already talked about how important it is for you to be a citizen of the Republic of Kenya. Chapter 7, I'm drawn to electoral system and processes. Part B says not more than 2/3 of members of elective public bodies shall be of the same gender. And this is one of the laws in Kenya that unfortunately we have not managed to achieve. And I'd want to call upon the women of this country to come out with their numbers in the next election to see into it that we get to achieve this 2/3 gender rule. So most of you, please come out, let's vie, and let's go for elective positions so that we are able to have a balancing tact as far as political representation of women is concerned in this country. But IEBC, that is the body that is mandated to hold election in Kenya, is supposed to also help in seeing into it that this law is implemented. I would want to seek their audience and just know what are some of the activities and actions they have taken towards this. In the last election, we saw that they tried to insist that political party list B represents this particular law, but they were not successful. So question is, will they try again? Another question is, what else are they doing? Okay. So IEBC is also mandated to for fair representations of persons with disability, universal suffrage, free, fair elections, which are by secret ballot, as I've said. The elections should be free from violence, intimidation, improper influence, and corruption. This is what the Constitution says, but you and I both know this is not at times the practice on the ground. And then conducted by independent body, and then it's supposed to be transparent. Again, when we go to IEBC and we are going to the voter registration, you know that they're the ones in charge of registering voters. So before somebody is registered as a voter, and remember, as a candidate, you also have to register as a voter to vote for yourself. Okay, so the requirement first is that you are an adult and a sound citizen. The second requirement is that you're not declared to be of unsound mind. Okay. The third one is you have not been convicted of an election offense during the preceding 5 years. Mark the words election offense. Okay. So if you are qualified to be registered as a voter, you will not be registered in more than one registration center. So you can't register here and then again register in another election center. But remember that you can transfer. Maybe in the last election you registered elsewhere and now you want to transfer. You are allowed to do that when the window will be open, but make sure you confirm that it is successful. And if you have your supporters that you'd also like them to transfer votes, because people do transfer votes from one place to another, see into it that it is successful within good time. So what is the IEBC supposed to do? IEBC is mandated with the responsibility of also coming up with the boundaries. Like, what are the boundaries? The boundaries wherever you will be vying for. What is their boundary? Where does it start? Where does it end? It also changes. It also has the right to change the name of a particular constituency or a particular ward. Again, IEBC is mandated with the continuous registration of its citizens and voters. If you'll be vying in a particular place, please be in very close contact with IEBC. I would even advise that as early as now, walk into their office, know where their office is, get the voters roll. You know, this keeps changing. The voters roll for that place you're going to vie. How many people are registered? You'd want to know how many voters are you targeting. Okay, then IEBC is also, as I said, the elimination of constituencies and ward, the regulation of the process for which political parties nominate candidates for elections. Remember that in Kenya you can make it to parliament either directly when you are elected, or you can be nominated by a political party to occupy a nomination slot. So IEBC gives the guidelines that guide that process. And then the next one is the settlement of electoral disputes, including disputes relating or arising from nomination, but excluding election petitions and disputes subsequent to the declaration of results. So if you find yourself you have a complaint against the nomination process, you raise it up with IEBC. Remember, in Kenya, even at the 11th hour, even at the government press, your name can disappear at that particular point. So if you have a grievance, raise it up with IEBC. They will be able to assist you with that. But remember, they don't handle disputes that are subsequent to the declaration of election results. The registration of candidates for election, IEBC does that. Voter education, I'm doing part of their work, but they also do that in their own way, under their own budget, and in their own style. So watch out for that. There is nothing wrong with learning, and learning. The facilitation of the observation, monitoring, and evaluation of the election process. Elections have to be observed with the people internal, that is within the country, and even external observers, so that there is ground to do better and to improve. So yes, IEBC does that. The regulation of the amount of money that may be spent by or on behalf of a candidate of a party in respect to an election. There is the Election Finance Act that stipulates how much as a candidate you're able to spend, and even your political party. In Kenya, elections are very, very, very expensive. So whether that is being adhered to, I'll leave you to answer that. But yes, IEBC stipulates that. We go to the monitoring and of compliance of legislation. IEBC is also mandated to be able to do that. There's a point that I would want to mention, that petition concerning an election other than the presidential election shall be filed within 28 days after the declaration of the election result by IEBC. So if you're going to petition in the courts, you only have 28 days for you to be able to do that. So please see into it that you've done that. IEBC has commissioners who lead the election process. The Constitution stipulates that the people who are eligible for them to be appointed as a member of the commission, one, this person has at any time within the preceding 5 years held office or stood as an election as a member of parliament or a county assembly member. So if you have vied for a political seat as a member of National Assembly or as a county member, as an MCA, you are not in 5 years you cannot apply to be a member of the body of IEBC governing body. So if you want to find the next election, just forget about that. You can't be the same person who is oversighting and you again want to go and contest for that election. At the same time, you should not be a member of a governing body of a political party. So you should not be in a governing body, like in the top tier of a political party, and again you want to be in the IEBC commission. The next one, a member of the commission shall not hold any other public office. So if you're going for office, you can't serve anywhere. The other point I'd like to mention is, if a general election is to be held within 12 months after the completion of a review of the commission, the new boundaries shall not take effect for purposes of that election. This is regards to their JD of just the elimination of constituencies and ward. But please put that at the back of your mind. Okay, I told you that you can make it to parliament or to county assembly through nomination process. This usually depends, and this is given to political parties depending on the number of seats that a political party manages to get. So if, for example, there are 12 seats, the formula for determining whether party A is getting, let's say, 3, 4, 5, like that, is determined by the number of people that particular party the number of candidates that win through that political party. So you'll find that political party usually supports their flag bearers because they want their flag bearers to be able to win, and in return they will get more slots for nomination. At the same time, political parties fund that is given by ORPP to political parties is also divided based on the number of candidates that particular political party has won. So see into it that when you're going to pick a political party, these are some of the factors that you have considered when you're getting into that political party. And yes, a political party is supposed to support your candidature so that you're able to win election using their political party. Okay, part 3 talks about political parties and please continue watching, because in another episode we will just talk about political parties only. So we will manage to go in depth and just exhaust political parties and some of the do's and don'ts and what you should look at. But also the Constitution in Article 91 has just talked about the basic requirements of a political party. If I'm to just read one or two, a political party is supposed to have a democratically elected governing body. Whether all parties have democratically elected is a question for another day, but they should be having. The next one is supposed to promote and uphold national unity. The next one is abide by the democratic principles of good governance, promote and practice democracy through regular, free and fair elections within the party. Most political parties in Kenya do not hold free and fair elections, yet the Constitution of Kenya has enshrined that within it. So it is your responsibility in whichever political party that you're in to see into it that you demand for nothing less. Remember that when it's free and fair within a political party, then it is easy to demand it also from the IEBC. Okay, the next one is respect to right of all persons to participate in the political process, including minorities and marginalized group. This one I think I had mentioned that everybody has a right to be represented within a political party, and you can go for any seat within the political party. Chapter 8 just talks about the legislature, and I said in Kenya Parliament consists of the National Assembly, and Parliament also consists of the Senate. Remember that. There's also the national government, and there's also the county government. So the people who are in the National Assembly are the parliamentarians, and the people who are in the Senate are the senators. Remember, in Kenya there are 47 counties, so senators are 47. In addition to that, at the Senate, there are 16 slots that are nominated. These are gotten through political seats, and I'd already mentioned that. Over and above that, there are 2 people who are within the Senate, one representing a person living with disability, and the 2 people represent persons living with disability, but one has to be a male and one has to be a female. Then there are 2 people representing youth, one has to be a female and one has to be a male. Then there is the speaker. So those are the people who are in the Senate. Now when you come to the National Assembly, there are 297 constituencies. So that means there are 297 National Assembly seats elected. And then in addition to that, there are 47 seats that are represented by women reps. Women rep position is a position that is for each and every county. It was meant to increase the number of women who are women's political representation at the national level. So over and above the 290 constituencies and 290 people who are elected, there are now these 47 seats that are for women reps. And then there are another 12 seats that is gotten through nomination processes, as I'd already mentioned. Then you have the Speaker of the House. So that is the composition of those particular houses. If you'd like to go for these seats, please know very well which seats you'd want to go for and which route are you going to take. Are you going to go for the elective route, or are you going to go for the nomination route? And these routes affect, therefore, the decisions that you make after that. You can also get in through as an independent person. You don't have to go through a political party. And we're going to delve into what are the requirements in peradventure you're going as an independent candidate. You'd want to know what are the JDs? What am I going to do? What is the work of a senator? What is the work of the National Assembly? Continue watching this show, because we will be able to delve into this in the subsequent episodes. But you are free and at liberty to just Google and just have a copy of your constitution, because all this is stipulated there. As I said, we will not consume all this today, but there's so much there's still there. There's still like there's the presidency, the deputy president, the judiciary. Remember that Kenya has 3 state organs, and that is the executive, you have the judiciary, and you also have the executive, you have the judiciary. I'll remember the third one. As I'd want to mention is go through the rest of this constitution by yourself, consume it. There's the judiciary. How does the judiciary get appointed? There's the devolved government. We will definitely talk about the devolved government, but it does not hurt for you to know there are the commissions, the independent ones. It is very important for you to be able to know that, yes, the 3 state organs are parliament, the executive, and the judiciary. The last thing I'd like to mention is Article 258 of the Constitution of Kenya, which reads, Part 1, every person has the right to institute court proceedings claiming that this constitution has been contravened or is threatened with contravention. So any person, wherever you are in Kenya, if you feel that the constitution, there's a part of it that is being abused, you can go and petition. You have that right. At this particular point, I want to thank you for watching till this very minute. Of course, I would want to hear feedback from you, and I'd want also to take this opportunity to invite you to watch the next episode. And of course, together, you and I will be able to play a role in seeing into it that Kenya gets to experience better governance. Thank you for your time, and yes, see you next time.